Welcome back to my channel. I'm Janis, the Boundaries Coach. Now, first and foremost, welcome back to everybody who's watching. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I have to say, life has been lifing, things have happened, but we're moving. And I'm so happy to be back in my little corner of the internet. I'm talking to other powerful women of color and their chosen lane and how they incorporate boundaries. First up is Dr. Robyn Scott, PharmD, who is also a sleep health coach. So I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed interviewing Dr. Robyn. Stay tuned for the end, and I'll be right back.
My name is Robyn Scott. I am a sleep health coach and clinical pharmacist. I've been a clinical pharmacist maybe over 20 years now. It seems just like yesterday. That time goes by fast. And I really developed a passion. Being a pharmacist, we're always getting questions for various aids that are out on the floor for the different customers and clients to buy. And one of the things that kept coming up over and over was something for sleep. And we would show them, the sleep aisle, some of the different things they had. They would purchase those things, but then they would come back to us talking about either the side effects they had from them or it made them sleepy too long. They just wanted one night's sleep and they were groggy for the whole week, or it just wasn't effective at all. And so it really got me thinking, what can we do to really help people with sleep? I had my own issues with sleep about 7 or 8 years ago when life was life, and as they were saying, I was going through a divorce. My dad had passed away in the middle of the divorce. I started this new job of all things of working at nighttime for the job, and I could not sleep during all of that going on. And so I had to kind of really work my way back. I tried, medications like everyone else does, and the same side effects that patients have been telling me about for years was occurring to me. So I had to really kind of work backwards of what I can do to naturally. So I'm not depending on meds. I'm not dependent on really anything outside of myself to really help me get that good, deep sleep that I need.
Right.
So now I share that with others during my sleep coaching program.
Yeah, and we appreciate that you do that. I know I love sleep. It's almost like a ritual to me, and what I
Mhm.
get from you sometimes is kind of like it is. Sleep should be a ritual to you. You should be able to go to sleep. Um, but for as I've heard that women get more sleep or get less sleep. I'm sorry, excuse me, get less sleep than men. Do you believe in that? And is that true?
Yeah, we actually need more but get less, which is a horrible, very ironic. We tend to, as women, we take on so many hats. We're daughter, we're niece, we're looking after, older people, some of the younger
Yeah,
people in our lives. Me and you, we're entrepreneurs.
right.
We wear so many hats as women. Men tend to be a little bit more streamlined and laser focused. We tend to have a more broader focus, but because of that, that's more wear and tear on our bodies. Also our fluctuations in hormones, whether we're
Right.
talking about, as young as, 13, 12 from menstruation all the way up to the 60s of menopause. Those fluctuations throughout our life mean that we need more sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Mm-hmm.
often don't get it because of the stress and so forth and everything, and having bad boundaries. And something we all need to kind of improve on and really focus so that we can finally get that sleep we need. And we need more. Women need about, I think they said about 7 to 9 hours, and men can get away with a little bit less, 6 to 8.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because, of course, boundaries is a big part of what I
Yeah,
do.
that's your specialty. I
That's
love
my
it. Yes.
specialty. Uh, but I know there's personal boundaries as well as many other boundaries, but personal boundaries, do you find like sleep boundaries come into play with that? Like sleep is a boundary that you have to have.
Yes, it definitely is. If you are, I try to encourage all of my clients, I do this myself, is to have what they call a power down hour, where they're going to power down for about an hour before they go to bed. So, and that's really, when you talked about rituals in the beginning, so it's going to differ from person to person. I personally love a ritual bath time where I'm using magnesium salts in the bath. Other people do a stretching time, a gentle yoga,
Mhm.
prayer and meditation, whatever it is to calm the soul down. but you have to have boundaries. If you have relatives calling you, really late in the evening, you have set that boundary that, call me if it's an emergency. Of course, I'm here for you. But just to chit chat and, talk about, whatever random is going on in the world right now.
The
There's so much
news,
going
if you
on.
just heard it,
It
11
really
o'clock
is.
news.
Yes, yes. And that's another boundary. I'm glad you mentioned news. I've had a lot of clients, they find that they sleep better if they're not watching that 11 o'clock news.
Yes.
To have that news as the last thing on your mind is the worst thing because now you're dreaming about it. You can wake up, some of the things that are going on in the world, they can really wake you up with nightmares.
Right.
And now you're worried about it, your brain's processing it. Have a way to get your news without being, slammed with it on a constant basis. So that's a boundary you have to set with yourself, not with others as much, but that's a personal boundary. Okay, I'll know how to get my news. For some of the women who I work with who have younger kids and they have a spouse to help them with the kids,
Mm,
have them really participate in the evening care so that you can have some me time.
right.
I love, having that Sunday, I think it's called Sunday self-care or Saturday
Mm.
self-care. It's nice to get that in the weekend, but we should be building something in every single day to really get that downtime so that we can really get that rest in.
Yes, no, I think that's the whole um really like the aspect of personal boundaries. And I always say
Mhm.
like boundaries start with you first. So if you can't say no to yourself as far as like you have all these, perimeters for yourself which are healthy, you can't be able to do it to someone else or ask for somebody else to help you. And I know you're really big because I am too. Like I said, bedtime for me is like a ritual. So I like actually
Yes.
really like going to bed and getting
Mhm.
into a clean bed and getting to a made up bed and
Mhm.
sleeping on my sheets. But I know you're big on tech, like removing the tech from your space.
Yeah.
And I know with like smartphones now, you can do, do not disturb, sleep to
Mhm.
get it away. So what are your feelings on removing the tech? And for people who can't necessarily, remove it from their space in their room or whatever it is, what do you suggest?
So I recommend, I think they say you need kind of like a cutoff time because all of our tech, and not the sun doesn't do this, but all of our tech does it. So our cell phones, our laptops, our even our TVs, our tablets, they emit something called blue light. So that blue light actually decreases the amount of melatonin that we can produce at night. It totally disrupts the melatonin production. And we need melatonin to sleep. That's our major hormone to get to sleep and to stay asleep.
Right.
And so I do recommend usually that hour before bed, all a part of that power down hour that they're able to
Mhm.
cut out the tech, charge the phone outside the room. I don't have a TV in my room. We have like a central TV for the family room.
Right.
Some people can't live without TV. If they can't
I
have the TV in
can.
the room, yeah,
Give me a
they
book,
can.
I'm okay.
Me too. And the book actually, unless it's some horror story, but most
Right.
books will actually help you to doze off at night. So that's a really good tip that you just gave. Having being able to, have a good book. If they can't, they can try different blue blocker technology. So they do have some blue blocker technology that'll actually block the blue light that's emitting. And the jury is still out in terms of how effective this is. The ones I've tried didn't seem to work that great. They have blue
Mm,
blocker glasses and they have
mm,
different blue blocker shields you can put over your phone or your laptop.
mhm.
So some people have found those to be effective. So if you just can't get around it yet, you have to take a particular call or something. Those are some of the different technologies you can try and kind of put in play to see how they help
Yeah, I've heard of blue blockers and glasses especially, but I
you. Hmm.
haven't tried them because I'm like, I don't know. Like the jury is kind of like you said,
Yeah, it's
it's
still
still kind
out
of
on
out.
there.
Yes.
Hmm.
Getting back to what you were saying about women needing sleep but not getting enough sleep, do you think it really, because my audience is women of color, does it
Hmm.
necessarily pertain to us, like Black women and women of color? Does that change the statistic at all?
Yeah, yeah. We actually definitely probably get less sleep and need more. The very same statistic, very similar. And I've talked about this in some of my previous information, is we are under a certain amount of chemical assault,
Mm,
especially as Black women. Now, some of us have really switched over it. And I want to say in the past 10 years, we have a lot of good products that are available to us where we don't have to use a lot of artificial things.
right.
But for years now, and there's even been class action lawsuits against the different things we're putting on our hair.
Right.
So a lot of that is decreased, usually some of the different relaxers and so forth. Getting chemically assaulted with that every 6 weeks directly on the brain can have an effect. We have this toxic chemical overload, more so than the rest of the population does. And so even when a lot of us turn natural, with all of these companies, with all these, products to maintain our natural hair, but the ingredients weren't always natural inside of them. And
Mm-hmm.
so once again, it was more of a chemical assault on us.
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely affects our sleep. 100 years ago, our mothers didn't have all of this stuff. I think they used like
No.
lard on their hair and maybe
Right.
some petroleum. They
Right.
didn't have all of the chemicals that we have now.
Yeah.
And so that's one reason I always bring this up. You can have all the really best sleep hygiene and things in the world, but at the base level, if you're, eating poorly, if a lot of chemicalized foods, um, we're trying to encourage people to eat organic and natural things as much as possible,
Yes.
stay hydrated. But then the quality of the water has changed so much that affects
Yeah.
our health from head to toe. So I
Right.
definitely think that Black women can definitely have more stress. We can have more in terms of stress, carrying the community on our shoulders. I
Mm-hmm.
think now it's good. A lot of us are getting away from this. There's whole platforms getting us away from that
Yes.
strong Black woman platform. So
Right.
I'm very thankful for that,
Me
happy for it.
too. Me
Yes,
too.
yes.
I'm
And
right
that's
there.
definitely a boundary we're setting for ourselves. And really
Yes,
great
we.
some of the work you're doing with that to help us with that. So thank you for
Oh
that.
no, thank you. We're both playing our part, right? We're both doing
Yeah.
it. When you're talking about boundaries, because I mean not boundaries, but when you mentioned something about food, does
Mhm.
that really carry you through the day to help you sleep? Because I know when I eat healthier and I eat
Mhm.
organic. I mean, I live in California, so kind of the food is kind of ready for me. And not saying
Yes,
that,
you
of
all have a
course,
lot of more variety to choose from.
right? We
Yes.
do, we do, and we don't necessarily always do it because we still have Chick-fil-A's and so I still
Yeah.
see them passing by. But I know when I eat, organically, when I really pinpoint my, my foods and get my movement in, my walk in the morning and stuff like that, that
Mhm.
really helps me. I notice I sleep really, really, good. So does that
Yes,
really help you? Does
it
that carry for
does.
everybody?
It really does. Because of the chemical assault on us is actually it disrupts our endocrine system, and that's the system that's making our hormones. And our
Right.
melatonin is one of the hormones that's being made. I think a lot of people when they think of hormones, just male, female, but there's insulin's actually a hormone, and melatonin and human growth hormone. And these are secreted and monitored during our sleep. So definitely the quality of foods that we put into ourselves as clean as possible. In this day and age, it's probably impossible to be 100% clean
Right.
24/7 all the time on
Mhm.
something. And, if we're traveling, we may have to, stop at a fast food place or something like that. But it's what we do the majority of the times is really what's really important. That we're not consuming red number 40 and blue number one, all of this stuff that just really is a total assault on our bodies, and it
Mhm.
affects our sleep. Our sleep is a reflection of our overall health. So that's good. You
Mhm.
say when you notice that you can get that movement in during the day, you're eating cleaner, you can sleep good because that's a reflection of your overall health.
Mhm.
If the sleep is poor and not occurring, or constantly waking up and can't get back to sleep, that's something you definitely want to look into as a holistic. What's going on with, hydration, food? You mentioned movement. Um, the American Medical Association is actually saying the number one cause of a lot of our ailments outside of genetics is stress. They're finally, and
Mm.
we've known this forever. I think we've known
Mhm.
this at an instinctual
Yeah.
level, but we're finally admitting it to ourselves. And the big organizations in charge of a lot of our medicine is actually acknowledging that. So how we handle stress is a big deal on our sleep as well.
Right. Yes, of course. And how we, like you said, be able to respond to it. I always say you can't control
Mhm.
anybody else. Of course, that's the number one
Right.
principle. You can only control yourself. So how
Mhm.
you respond to it is a boundary, is a control in charge of yourself.
Mhm.
Wellness boundaries and sleep. So what would you categorize like the number one education about sleep that everybody should know?
In terms of that boundary, I would say that a lot of people initially come and think that sleep is a luxury and not a necessity. So I would say the number one thing is acknowledging that sleep is actually a necessity and a major foundation for all of your health. So your mental health, your physical health, and emotional health. We've
Mhm.
all dealt with that person. We even had that saying, oh, they must have got up on the wrong side of the bed
Right.
today.
Right.
And they're crazy, acting a fool. So that's something, and just irritable and moody.
Yeah.
Getting that good sleep actually solidifies our moods and gets us a more
Mhm.
even keeled mood so we just aren't up and down with the irritability. So
Right.
I would think that would be the number one thing. This is not just, oh, it's a luxury. I'll get to it. I've had people say, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead, which is
Right.
a
Oh,
horrible thing to say
horrible.
because you may hasten that death a little bit sooner than you would want because you're not getting the sleep you require. So it is
Yes.
not a luxury, it is an absolute necessity. Yeah.
What do people think? I mean, what do you say to people who think, like I said, I like my sheets. I've liked that for a long time. When I discovered like a certain count, I was like, oh, okay, this is where
Oh,
I'm
yeah, that was a definitely nice yeah,
yeah.
necessity for real.
What do you say to people who can't afford or don't think of having, sheets or as simple as good quality sheets? What's a boundary that they can set for themselves, like about their bed?
Yeah,
What can they do?
definitely about the bed. Luckily we have some, you can't get those extravagant Egyptian, multi-thousand count
Right.
threads of cotton.
Right.
And that should be on all of our lists eventually, that we should
Right.
elevate to that. In the meantime, you can go to, a lot of there's some of the different economy stores like TJ Maxx and Marshalls that will still have really high quality
Mhm.
cotton sheets. But they won't be, really outrageously priced. I believe Home Goods is another option.
Yeah.
Ross is another option.
Mhm.
I actually recently bought some organic cotton sheets from Ross that
Wow.
I'm using now. So they
I love
are
Ross.
out there. Yeah, yeah. You have to sift through and shop
You
through and look,
do. You
but
do.
you'll find it. That makes it more fun, right?
Yeah, it
For those of us
does.
who enjoy that.
It does. It does.
So that's a part of it. Definitely, I would say keep those really extravagant ones on your list. But in the meantime, definitely go to your discount store so you can get that. And you want to get cotton or natural fiber. Some of the other natural fibers are bamboo,
Mm,
linen. We mentioned cotton. Silk is another one. But if you're sweating or something and I know California is a hotter climate,
mhm.
silk can not be the most sweat friendly fabric, but that's
Right.
also an option, especially wintertime when I'm living in the Midwest. Silk is really a nice warming fabric for this
Yeah.
part of the country.
Mhm.
So yeah, the polyester doesn't let your skin breathe.
Definitely.
And you'll be surprised. I was in Ross where I got these organic cotton sheets. I found them, but I had to sift through a lot of the polyester and the polyester blends. And like I said, they just aren't breathable fabrics like our natural fabrics are. So that's definitely
No.
something. Really prioritize quality, and you can get them without breaking the bank. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you definitely can. You just have to sift, like you said, especially in those stores, you definitely have to
Yeah.
sift. I'm a sifter. I'll sift till I find,
Yeah, me too.
I'm like a
Yeah.
little hound dog. I'm like, oh, I'll find it.
Hmm.
And you mentioned was just so true. You mentioned about the person that comes to work or comes whatever, and you think like,
Hmm.
what's wrong with them? Do you
Right.
think that the lack, well, not you think, but like the lack of sleep, how it affects how you show up? Because I'm all about boundaries. You show up as you are. That's how you are able to move through life. Does
Right.
does being tired affect how you show up?
Yeah, definitely. And it can affect different people different ways.
Hmm.
What you teach a lot is us speaking up for ourselves and standing up for ourselves and maintaining those boundaries.
Hmm.
Um, if you are, exhausted, too exhausted to do that, some of those boundaries can just slip away and really allow people to walk all over you in fashions that you never even imagined. It can also be in the opposite direction for some people where they're just blowing up at the smallest little things. Maybe the boundaries have no flexibility to them, they're too tight, and now they're alienating others and really damaging and harming their relationships. So it
Hmm.
could be at both extremes, even for one person. One person
Hmm.
can find that, okay, they got 5 hours of sleep and now they're a little loosey, but they got 3 hours and now they're just, basically alienating everyone with just
Right.
extremism boundaries. So it can
Yeah.
definitely affect that. I think it affects too how we our cognitive function to, you need to remember your boundaries, and
You
we
do.
actually solidify our memories while we're sleeping at night.
Mhm.
So you may forget, oh man, I forgot that I'm working with Janice now, and she's teaching me these great ways to have boundaries. But they need to solidify those memories at nighttime. So if a person's having memory issues, they can definitely benefit from really getting their sleep checked out to make sure about that. The ability to make decisions. You have to make decisions depending on the person you're talking to about the boundaries and how you're going to express that boundary to them. And basically, that emotional intelligence comes from a well-rested person. It's hard to have good emotional intelligence if you're exhausted, and
Right.
just completely worn down. So yeah,
Mhm.
that
I
affects it
love that.
majorly.
I love that
Mhm.
you said that because all that's so true. I can talk to you
Mhm.
forever about sleep. I mean, it's really scary how much I love sleep, but
You love sleep. Sleep
yeah.
lover like me. I knew
I
it. Yay.
mean, yes, exactly. What's the biggest misconception? One of the things that I know you talked about how sleep people think that's a luxury, and they do. But is that one of the biggest misconceptions that you have to deal with a lot?
Yeah, I think that's a misconception. I think people who have chronic issues with sleep, they think a misconception is that, oh, I can make it up in a weekend. But if you've been going for weeks, months, some people years without getting
Mhm.
good, consistent, deep sleep, it's going to take more than one weekend to really make that up.
Right.
Um, so that's one of the major misconceptions. Another one is sleeping pills. I'll just take sleeping pills forever, and that's fine. A lot of people don't know this, but when the FDA approved the majority of the sleeping pills, they approved them for short, temporary spurts in our lives. I know I have, and I give myself grace if someone passes away that's close in my family. I don't sleep for the first week. My
Mhm.
sleep is very erratic, it's on and off. And I just give myself grace and accept that. And I believe those sleeping pills were made for those particular times where there were
Mm,
short periods of time, you know
right.
specifically what's causing it, and you're moving through it.
Mhm.
But to permanently be on sleeping pills for years after years, they were actually never approved for that reason. So that's a
Mhm.
big misconception. This is something you should be able to do naturally. So if someone is really depending long term on sleeping pills, that's definitely a misconception that they need to work on and definitely basically work through that. I think another thing people think, this is a misconception in the opposite way, that everyone has to be on a regular schedule of,
Mm,
going to bed at 8 hours in the night and waking up a certain time in the morning, and everyone should be like clockwork on this schedule. But there are different chronotypes, and that's just a fancy word for there are different people and we have different schedules.
mhm.
There are some people, they were born natural night owls.
Mm.
And we need them in society. We need people in
Yeah,
the
we do.
hospitals at night, police at night. We need these people. And so they shouldn't be confined to just, I just have to go to bed at 9. That's just what it is. If they're really
Right.
bright and alert at 9 and ready to go to bed, they'll have to do some things in the daytime. They really will have to set boundaries with friends and family. Don't call me in the day. I need to
Right,
rest.
right.
They got to black out that room with blackout shades. But those people who are natural night owls, they shouldn't be forced into the other schedule. They should definitely be allowed to be themselves and
Yeah.
figure their lives out based on that.
Yes, definitely. Because I have a friend who is like she swears by having like 5 to 6 hours a night. And I'm always like, how do you have 5 to 6 hours a night? But then during the day, she has boundaries that she has like a nap during the day. She's really good about having a nap and exiting out her email or her contact, her Slack, to say,
Right.
I don't, no, you can't bother me, for an hour.
Okay. That's excellent. So she really has the boundary set in so she can
She does.
maximize her sleep. Yeah, she
She
knows she sleeps a
does.
little bit less at night. She can definitely make up for that, usually during the daytime to kind of balance it out. And having those boundaries so everyone around you know, listen, I'm kind of getting my rest in at this nap time portion
Right.
of the day. And yeah,
Right.
that's so
And what do you think
important.
about naps? I mean, I'm not
I
huge on naps.
personally love them.
Yeah, I like to
Yeah.
rest. I can power down during the day, just like
Okay.
not, I can probably stare at a wall if I need to, but I just
Yeah.
mean, but I can do that because naps kind of interrupt my sleep. If I take a nap during those, I'm really tired,
Hmm.
but it'll interrupt my sleep. So if I just
Yeah.
rest, it's better.
So rest is actually good. And even just resting, they're finding that the new studies that you're getting similar benefits to sleep.
Mm.
So if you find yourself that, okay, during, 12 noon, I like to rest, I'll go outside. I'm still jealous you live in beautiful California because you could do this basically throughout the year. I want to go outside and get some sun or walk around a bit, just kind of, ease away from the computer, the electronics. That's very beneficial. And you will actually get some rejuvenation from that. I
Mhm.
find personally when I share with my clients for nap time, it has to be a restricted hour. So anywhere from like 11:30 to 2:30. If you
Mm.
try and get a nap 4, 5, 6, 7 in the evening, it's going to totally wreck your sleep at night.
Right.
Another
You
thing
might as well
is
just go to
how
bed.
long the naps. Huh?
I say you might as well just go to bed if it's four,
Yeah,
four or
you might
five
as well just
o'clock.
go to bed, but then you wake up at 2 a.m. ready to go, and then you're
Right.
not sure why. So yeah.
Right,
So
right.
definitely have that cutoff time at 2:30 at the latest. And then the nap, the quality of the nap cannot be super long. So if someone's taking a 2-hour nap, it may feel good and awesome, but it is going to disrupt their sleep at nighttime. So the recommendation is what they call a power nap. So 20 to
Mm,
30 minutes.
mm,
So that's something maybe you can give a try and see if, okay, if I set the
right.
alarm and not a blasting alarm, because some of those alarms, they will upset us and totally reverse the rejuvenation. So a
Right.
calm, gentle alarm for 20 or 30 minutes. Within that time frame, that could be something you can kind of experiment with to see if that's something you like.
Yeah, no, that's really good tip. And last question, how can
Mhm,
people start getting sleep, good quality sleep tonight? What can they
mhm.
do? What boundary, what can they do to set, good healthy sleep?
Definitely, the personal boundaries, which you mentioned, you can't set
Mhm.
boundaries with others if you can't start with yourself first. So
Right.
starting with yourself first, and having that sleep education is important, knowing that, okay, if this blue light is going to disrupt my sleep, let me have a cutoff time for that. There's other things that you definitely have to personally have boundaries for. So having a cutoff time, I have clients who enjoy a glass of wine with dinner.
Mhm.
That's fine. So if they're going to bed at like 9, having that cutoff about 3 hours before, about 6 p.m. Having that cutoff time for a big meal. Right? You can do a little snack before, but the big meal, because it takes so much time and energy and reserves for your body to digest that food.
Right.
So you want to have a cutoff time of that at about 6 p.m. too, or 3 hours before. If you go to bed at
Mhm.
10, that would be 7. A cutoff time for liquid, so you're not waking up using the bathroom all night long. So a
Yeah.
lot of the sleep things are really personal boundaries. Having those appropriate cutoff times. If you do caffeine, mine is a really strict one because I think I'm a slow metabolizer of caffeine. It just hangs around with me all day.
Me
So
too.
really, my cutoff time needs to be about noon so that I can go to sleep that night.
Me too.
So, yeah, okay, okay, good. You see that.
Yeah.
And I know some people, they can have an evening coffee, but they after dinner coffee and they can go to bed okay.
Yeah.
That's pushing it to me. I can't have a 6 p.m. coffee. I'm gonna be up and very disrupted. So
Yes.
definitely having those cutoff times. We talk about having a really nice bedroom environment, minimizing that tech, getting out what you can, having that good temperature. So anywhere from 65 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit is a good temp.
Mhm.
Those blackout shades, making it, I like how you talked about a ritual in the beginning, making this a beautiful ritualistic room where it's just really calm, soothing. It's your oasis to really rest and rejuvenate. That's so important. And just following some of the strict hygiene. Going to bed typically the same time every night and waking in the morning, typically the same time, even on weekends and holidays.
Right.
That's something good to really set the circadian rhythm. Trying to think, it's tons of so more things, just limiting your bright lights in general. We talked about the blue light, but starting to dim the lights in the evening. And the major thing everyone could do tonight, I would say, if you say, okay, I don't know if I can really do a whole power down hour, start with a power down half hour tonight, where you're going to do some self-care that's
Write that
calming,
down.
soothing. Yes. And get in that mood to get that great sleep starting the night. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You gave us some great tips. Like I said, I can talk to you forever. I love sleep.
Yeah, I love
I think
talking about sleep. So
I
feel
know. I know. I love that. How would people find you? How do they work with you? How do people find you?
Sure. I have a YouTube channel here on YouTube, Sleep Well RX, Robyn Scott, and also I'll send you a link and so you can link there. I have a free giveaway for anyone that's watching today, so they can definitely download. It's the free sleep starter kit to get them started. Not next week, not next month, but tonight on getting that great
Right.
sleep. So I'll definitely have that link as well for you and your anyone who's watching.
Said before, I love talking to Dr. Robyn. And like I said in the video, I love talking about sleep. I mean, it's my jam. It's what I like to do because I like to show up as my rested self. And like she said, we've all known that person that we say, did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Is there something wrong with you? We've all seen that person. And sometimes we've been that, let's be honest. Let's call a thing a thing. Sometimes we've been that person, but what I love is that we can reverse that by having sleep, by having real good sleep, regardless of how you like. And I like that part too. Regardless of the fact that you can survive on 5 hours, you're a 6-hour person, or you need 8. I've even known somebody who likes to sleep like 10 hours. That was their jam. That's what they like to do. And they were like most miserable person if they didn't have 10 hours. Now, I personally don't need 10 hours. And like you probably who's watching, you don't need 10 hours either. I'm really good between 6 and 8. 8 is great if I can have it, but I'm an entrepreneur and I do things. So 8 is kind of like what I'm going for. But between 6, 7 is great. That's like perfect. But what I love is that you can decide what you like to do and not to be embarrassed about it because we're all different. So the respect and the recognition of people who have, different ways to sleep was really great to hear. There were so many nuggets and so many gems that she dropped about sleep and sleep education and the importance of it pertaining to boundaries because it is a boundary. I loved all that. And I hope you did too. To work with Dr. Robyn, go to the description box and follow the link and download her free guide. It's amazing. I did it too. It's wonderful. And if you want to work with me, do the same. Go down to my description box and see how you can work with me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. So thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it and look for more videos to come. Have a great day and be a boundary maker.